Hey there, alchemist. So, welcome to week one of our rainbow series, Defy Gravity. Now, we call it the rainbow series because we are going into an element of our own energetic system. Now, this energetic system has been connected with the chakra system, the Kabbalah tree of life, but also mystical Christianity's the seven mansions of the interior castle. Now, we call it Defy Gravity because we are learning to manage our shadow and our grace. Now, each of the chakras, or you could say the seven houses, each of the chakras have a shadow and a grace. And the shadow is the part of us that needs healing. It needs some attention. It needs some TLC. The grace that we have is the pathway to healing that. So we defy gravity by excavating our inner landscape, and we learn to see the world as a mystic sees the world, right? That God is in all things, God is everywhere present. And then we learn to act in the world as an alchemist would act in the world and transmute the weight of our suffering, which you could call our metaphorical lead. We transmute that into gold. And this is how we heal the whole package of our life, right? We start with the basics, which I'll go over today. But as we go through like the transformation of the shadows by using the graces in all of our chakras, right? We heal the package of our life. So today, up close and personal, I'm going to go into the shadow and the grace of the root chakra. Now, the root chakra is connected to our tribal consciousness, family, community, but now it's even planetary, right? Because we know like what's going on around the planet at any given moment. It is through our tribe that we learn about unity and loyalty and belonging. And here is where we develop a positive pride, right? Positive pride would be defined as self-respect and dignity, and pride goes directly to our sense of purpose and how we live a life of meaning. It's our identity and our place in our lives. Now, when we have pride in its positive aspect, we're happy and confident with how we get to show up for service, and we're also honored to be serving, right, in the way that we do, and we're proud of how we get to serve. Now, the shadow of this chakra is called hubris, arrogance, or superiority. And it is born out of the experience of being humiliated and shamed, and then never getting to heal that. Now, humiliation is a very potent fear. And in fact, when we go through a humiliating experience, we may not even ever share it with anyone because we just can't even bear to share what happened or share what we did. Now, I had an experience, and this was a tough one, that I had been invited to share some office space way back when I was a massage therapist. And this was like, a long time ago. But I gave this woman a massage so that she could see what kind of massage I gave, so she could refer clients to me. We talked. I paid for my first month's rent up front. I got my key. And then not too long after that, I got an email from her telling me that she decided to have somebody else come in the office who she liked better. And they gave a better massage. And she just decided she would rather have them in her space because she liked their vibe better. Everything, right? I mean, I guess the sun just rose and set around this person, but I was so humiliated. I had told so many people about this beautiful new space, and I was totally humiliated. I felt awful. I mean, I felt awful. And I got this information in an email. Okay. Now, that's not the end of it though. Okay. When I had been in her office, she was gossiping about one of her clients. And I happened to run into this client of hers not too long after that. And inside of me, I had this air of superiority. And I decided, I'm going to show you, I'm going to steal your client. And I didn't end up stealing her client, but I did share with that person what this other gal had been gossiping about, right? And the minute I was done, of course, I felt horrible for what I had done. So add more shame to that experience of humiliation, okay? So here's the irony. Like, we don't want to share when we've been humiliated, whether it's something happened to us or something we did. When we can't share something, it's so hard to get over it. And that fear of having even more, having another experience of being humiliated, to have people look at us differently, that will keep us from trying things, that will keep us from doing anything where we fear we may get found out, or we might fail and be humiliated because we failed. Okay? So we might settle for second best or third best because that fear of being humiliated is just our guiding principle. And being humiliated, or even if being humiliated or doing something so we humiliate ourselves, this is one of the hardest things to forgive. Okay, humiliation is the hardest thing to forgive. Okay, so here's what happens when we go through that pain and humiliation. Okay, we turn the tables on how we see ourselves, right? When I was in 6th grade, I was humiliated in my math class, right? My teacher, I don't think he meant to do it, but I was humiliated. I was so shamed. And from that point forward, I thought I was stupid. Okay, I really did. And that was many years. Okay. I finally, when I was in college, I had a math teacher got through to me, and I was able to turn that around. But that was over 10 years. That was over 10 years. Now, we turn the tables on ourselves, meaning that we lose our positive pride, right? We lose our dignity. We lose our self-respect, and we don't trust in our abilities. We don't honor our abilities, and we lose reverence and regard for our life. We won't see the wonder of our life. We won't have appreciation for our lives. When we are humiliated, we cannot see our life as holy. If we're on our shadow, that fear of humiliation, the greatest fear, lies right there under the surface, and it becomes our guiding principle. And we will make all of our choices based on that fear, right? We'll choose because we'll worry about what other people think about us, right? We'll want to be liked. We'll let ourselves be a doormat, right? So that people will like us and say nice things about us. When we are living with that fear of humiliation, we might even find ourselves struggling. And instead of asking for help and support, we'll try to pretend everything is okay. We'll hide it, right? Even if we're dealing with an illness or crisis or trauma, we will get stuck in that fear. We'll get stuck in our shadow, and we won't be able to ask for help. We will not be able to just allow the resources of our soul to move us through our life. Right? We won't feel that sense of personal dignity. We'll think that we cannot rebuild our life. We'll focus on our perceived inadequacies. And now we have to be really careful so that nobody finds out, right? That's what we're going to focus on, right? Everywhere we think that we are just a big failure. Now, we can only heal our life through grace. We can only heal this shadow through grace. Quick fixes, trying to go into the world of reason, right? Things that make sense. When I was in 6th grade, it seemed reasonable to me to just try to not ever take another math class again in my whole life, right? And so I didn't do so good, right, in my school years with math. Okay, going into reason, making it reasonable, I should say. It's not always going to work for us. We have to be able to follow our soul, because our soul passes through and then beyond the realms of reason. Our soul goes into a place where our reasonable mind cannot follow. And that's the place where we activate grace, or call forth grace. Okay, so the grace of the root chakra is the grace of reverence, right? The grace that allows us to see that God is everywhere present and in all things and everything. Everything is holy ground, including us. Now, Carolyn Myss says this about the grace of reverence. Okay, reverence is the grace that enables us to see that all of life is an interconnected field of cosmic activity that has its origins and endings in divine consciousness. Okay, the grace of reverence shows us that all of life is an interconnected field of cosmic activity. Okay, it's God at work everywhere, as the everywhere present source that it is. And this is what we build on with the grace of reverence. And so it relates to our tribal consciousness and how we are all connected, right? We are all connected as the entire planet. We are all of us connected. Everything is holy. This is how we can say that love is alive in the space between us, right? Reverence allows us to see the entire package of our life as holy, right? We really, really are deeply interconnected. Now, I've shared this story before, but on September 11th, 2001, there's an environmental agency that monitors the magnetic field of our planet. And on that day, 2001, they noticed in their readings that there was a huge spike in our planet's magnetic field, a huge spike, and it happened 15 minutes after that first plane hit the towers. Okay, mass human consciousness impacts our planet's magnetic field, right? This magnetic field of our beautiful planet was impacted by our collective heartache, right? This beautiful blue marble that we call home, okay? Mother Earth, the very first energy that greeted you on the day that you were born, was impacted by our collective mass heartache. Right? All of us together, we influence our planet's magnetic field. Now, the mystical principle of this chakra is what is in the one is in the whole, right? Meaning that our choices energetically affect everything. Okay, our choices, what we do, we're putting into the matrix. We're putting into the field. Okay, Wayne Dyer once upon a time said something about, like, if one person held the consciousness of pure unconditional love, that one person could affect like 500 people. Okay, sometimes we make small ripples out into the world. Now, if we're with a group, we make bigger ripples, right? You've heard of the meditation groups they'll meditate in a city for several hours, and the crime rate in that city will go down, right? This is an experiment. This was a fairly popular experiment to do, I think, back in the late 90s, right? But it's been done, and it has been found that during those hours when the group was meditating, the crime rate went down. Okay, so we are, like, when we're part of a spiritual community, we can put bigger ripples out there into the world. Okay, now reverence is what allows us to feel that spiritual truth, so that we can be more mindful of what we are putting out into our field, right, out into the package of our life and into our family and our community. The grace of reverence is also the root grace in our intuitive system. Okay, now when we want to heal something, and when I say heal something, I don't mean just physical healing, But anywhere in our life where we are suffering, that area of our life needs healing. And so if you feel like you're not living a life of meaning and purpose, you need healing there. And if you feel like you don't have fulfilling relationships, well, that area needs to be healed. All right. So that's what I mean when I say healing. Anything in the package of our life where we are feeling suffering. Now, if we are in our shadow, all we will see is our failure to heal wherever in our life we are suffering. If we are in our shadow, all we'll see are the tragedies we have lived with, or our victimhood, or our unworthiness, like where we feel we're not enough. And this equates to our inability to get back on track in our life, right? When we're in our shadow, we go off the rails. Okay, that's what happens. We go off the rails. Now, reverence moves us into a place where we can first honor our body, right, as the sacred vehicle that it is, so that we can do something different, right? We can do something with our vital force energy, right? And show up in our day in a different way. That's what starts moving things around in our life, right? Showing up with our vital life force energy, and we do something. Okay, so the grace of reverence helps us to first honor our body and see it as holy, and then we can honor our life and see it as holy. Now, this allows us to see everything around us, right? Everything in our life as part of our healing. Yeah, everything comes together for our good, right? And so this isn't just about positive thinking, okay? This is about we accept what's going on right here and now. We accept because that gives us a starting point so that we align when we call forth this grace. We know what to do next. We know what we're starting with, what we have to work with, so we know what the next thing to do is, okay? Now, this also, when we're connecting or calling forth the grace of reverence, it reminds us how all of life is an interconnected field of cosmic activity, right? We want to remember this cosmic activity, the activity of God, right? Being in motion, creative substance at work through us, for us, as us, right? So that we see the divine as everywhere present. And when we see the divine as everywhere present, we see everything as a potential channel for a solution, right? A potential channel for guidance. And we're seeing just everything about our lives as sacred. If God is all things, everywhere present, why wouldn't everything be sacred, right? This means even everyone we're journeying with, everybody on this planet, we're on a journey together, right? We're closer to some people than others, but all of us on this journey together are all part of this sacredness, right? That this is the gift of our lives. Even the people who are different from us, people who eat, vote, pray, parent differently than we do, they are still part of this sacred journey of ours. Their lives are sacred, right? We don't have to worry about what's right, wrong, good, bad, up, down. When we see just God as the everywhere present force that it is, and see all of life as sacred, we're moving forward. Okay, we are moving forward. And all we have to do is be willing to call forth this grace. And I'll actually include a prayer in the comments of this video. Okay, there's a prayer in the comments for you. Okay, but see here, this is where we are right now in our cosmic evolution, right? The evolution of our souls. We are becoming mystics without monasteries. We've seen this, that consciousness is evolving, right? Our way of thinking and acting, right? So that we're creating our experiences. We know we're creating our experiences. So we're gaining more awareness. So we're deciding how we're going to think and act and show up in our day. We also, right now, we have more opportunities than we have ever had in our lives. But this also means we have more choices that we'll have to make on a daily basis. Now, if we are stuck in the pain or the pain and the shadow of our first chakra, this is where we're going to feel stuck in our lives. And it's going to feel like we are wading through mud that it's up to here on us. Okay? Like we can just barely move. When we call forth grace, our soul moves us. Okay? That's how we become active participants in this interconnected field of cosmic activity, right? And don't take my word for it. Try it yourself. Okay? Try it yourself. So here is our call to action for this week. I'll start with our affirmation. All of my life is sacred, right? I'm going to say it again. You can say it with me. All of my life is sacred, right? All of our lives are sacred, because everything is a channel for divine expression, right? Everything is a channel for the universe to just expand and grow right through, right? That's what it means to be in this interconnected field of cosmic activity. And this is how we see all of our lives then. And we can see that there are so many moving parts. Like we can't even keep track of everything, right? And this is how things end up coming together in surprising ways. Things come together that like we couldn't have planned it any better, right? And so here is our invitation for this week. At some point during the week, you might find yourself feeling stuck. Maybe you feel frustrated. And ask yourself this. Okay, ask this question. What's not working right now? What's not working right now? Okay, now because all of life is interconnected, we want to open up to receive that next thing to do, right? So if we're feeling, okay, there's something's not working out right now, like we want to evoke the grace of reverence. Okay, we want to call that forth, pray that prayer, see all of life as sacred, and ask this question. What do I need to know right now? What do I need to do right now? Or come up with your own question, right? Come up with your own question and let me know. Let me know your question. I would love to add that, okay? And see, when we're asking these questions, we call forth grace, right? Because all of life is an interconnected field of cosmic activity. The next thing we do will affect everything. Now, we may not notice it yet. It may take several choices. It may take 10 or 12 choices and weeks or years before we can look back and say, oh, this is where I started like asking and doing and acting in faith, okay? But see, when we remember to call forth grace, this changes how we show up to our day, right? And massive change may not happen in that first day, but we just keep calling forth grace. We keep letting it heal our shadow, right? Because everything we do echoes out into the world. Every tear that we cry, it goes out into the world, right? Whether we fall or fly, that goes out into the world, because all of life is an interconnected field of cosmic activity. Okay, so what we're putting out into the field will come back to us. And we want to be real careful about what we're putting out there into this cosmic soup, right? Think of it that way. We're putting vibes out into this cosmic soup. Do we want to be in our shadow and filled with all that pain and poison? And do we want to add that into this soup? Okay, no, of course we don't, right? We want to put joy and love and kindness into the soup, right? Humor, gentleness, curiosity, right? Centeredness. I mean, if you're making soup at home, you're only going to put ingredients in the soup that you want to taste, right? You're not going to throw a boot into your soup. Okay? We're going to be careful with what we're cooking up here. Now, when we see our lives as sacred, and when we start acting as if our lives are sacred, right? And we see everyone and everything as a holy partner on this journey, well, This is how we are creating heaven on earth. So until next time, remember that you are divinely designed to be doing all of this. You are a one-time, one-of-a-kind cosmic event. In everything you do, you are blessed, and so it is. Right? So it is.